Your child is on the floor, screaming, and every instinct in your body says, "Fix this." So you start talking. Calm down, use your words. I understand you're upset, and nothing works. If anything, it gets worse. Here's what almost nobody tells you. The tantrum isn't the problem. What you're doing in the first 30 seconds of it might be. There is one specific mistake that almost every parent makes during a tantrum. I made it for years, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it in your own home. Hey, welcome back. I'm Maya. Tantrums are one of the most researched areas in child development, and yet most parenting advice about them is still built on guesswork. Today, I want to walk you through the single biggest mistake parents make in the middle of a meltdown. Not because you're doing something wrong on purpose, but because it's the most instinctive thing in the world to do. It just happens to work against you completely. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do differently tonight. Before we get to the mistake, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your child during a tantrum. It's not defiance. It's not manipulation. It is, biologically, a flood. When a young child becomes overwhelmed by frustration, exhaustion, a change in plans, their brain's stress response takes over. The amygdala fires, stress hormones spike, and the part of the brain responsible for language, logic, and reasoning, the prefrontal cortex, temporarily goes offline, not metaphorically, functionally. Brain imaging research on emotional flooding shows reduced activity in these reasoning regions during high-stress states, in children and adults alike. Your child, mid-tantrum, is not choosing to ignore you. Their brain has, for the moment, lost access to the very systems you're trying to talk to. And that brings us to the mistake. The number one thing almost every parent does wrong during a tantrum is this. They try to reason with a child whose reasoning brain is offline. Calm down, let's talk about this. Tell me what's wrong, you need to use your words. All of it sounds patient. All of it sounds like good parenting. And all of it is aimed at a part of the brain that, in that exact moment, cannot receive it. It's the equivalent of trying to have a calm negotiation with someone who is drowning. They don't need a conversation. They need to be pulled out of the water first. Here's why this specific mistake doesn't just fail. It actively makes things worse. First, when a child can't process what you're saying, but you keep saying it, louder or more insistently, it adds more input to an already overloaded system. That's not de-escalation. That's more noise thrown at a brain that's already flooded. Second, repeated failed attempts to reason often shift a parent's own tone, from calm to frustrated, which the child absolutely does pick up on, even without understanding the words. Now two nervous systems are dysregulated instead of one. And third, and this is the part that surprises most parents, language during a flooded state can actually prolong the tantrum, because the child is now trying to process both the original overwhelming feeling and your words, at the same time, with a brain that has limited bandwidth for either. This mistake doesn't always look like calm reasoning. It shows up in 3 common disguises, and you've probably used at least one. The first is bribing. If you stop crying, you can have a cookie. This still requires the child to process language and make a rational trade-off, the exact thing their brain can't do right now. The second is lecturing, launching into an explanation of why the answer is no, mid-meltdown, hoping logic will land. It won't, not yet. And the third, and probably the most common, is threatening or punishing in the moment. If you don't stop, we're leaving. Delivered while the child is already in a flooded state. This adds fear on top of overwhelm, which can extend the flood rather than end it. All 3 come from a good place. All 3 are aimed at a brain that, right now, simply cannot use them. So what do you do instead? The research points to a sequence, and the order matters more than the words. Step 1, regulate before you relate. Get physically close, lower your body to their level, keep your voice low and slow, even if they are loud. You are not trying to talk yet. You are trying to be a calm presence near a dysregulated one, the same co-regulation principle we've talked about before. Step 2, minimal words, not explanations, not lectures, just brief, low-stimulation phrases. I'm here. You're safe. That's it. You are not reasoning, you are anchoring. Step 3, and this is the one almost everyone skips. Wait for the dip. There is a physical moment, you'll start to recognize it, where the crying softens, the breathing slows, the body relaxes even slightly. That is the signal that the flood is receding and the reasoning brain is starting to come back online. That is when language finally works. Not at the peak of the storm, after it. Step 4, now and only now you talk, briefly, simply. That was really hard. You really wanted to stay at the park. Naming the feeling, not lecturing about the behavior, that conversation can come later, once they're fully regulated, sometimes even hours later. I want to be honest about something. This is genuinely hard to do in the moment, especially in public, especially when you're exhausted, especially on the 40th tantrum of the week. Every instinct says, fix this now, with words, because that's what worked for every other problem today. But a tantrum isn't a communication problem to solve. It's a nervous system event to ride out. The parents who get better at this aren't the ones with more patience. They're the ones who have simply learned to expect the sequence. Presence first, words later. Once you know that's the order, the urge to jump straight to reasoning gets a lot easier to resist. If this reframed how you think about tantrums, hit subscribe. Next week, I'm covering exactly what to say once your child is calm, so the lesson actually sticks. Let's recap. A tantrum is a brain flood, not defiance. The reasoning part of your child's brain is temporarily offline. The number one mistake is trying to reason with a brain that can't currently process reasoning, whether that's calm talking, bribing, lecturing, or threatening. All of it adds input to an already overloaded system. The fix is a sequence. Regulate first with your calm presence, use minimal anchoring words, wait for the physical dip, and only then have the conversation. Presence before words, every single time. If you've caught yourself mid-lecture during a meltdown, same, honestly, more times than I'd like to admit. This isn't about getting it perfect. It's about catching the pattern a little earlier each time. Comment presence first if this is the one thing you're going to try differently tonight. And subscribe for next week's follow-up on what to say once the storm has passed. See you in the next one.